Well, let's bring back in Jan Grabowski now, if we can, historian. And Jan, we were speaking a moment ago about your reflections on today. We were talking about some of the speakers, a Polish survivor among those. And you are an expert on Poland, the Polish president among those attending these tributes today. So I'd love to ask you about how much sort of recognition there is in Poland institutionally of what happened on Polish soil, given Auschwitz, this place that we are looking at today, of course, is in Poland.
You know, the history of the Holocaust is the greatest and most, let's say, burning hot potato that there is in Poland. And the problem is, of course, the discussion of levels of Polish complicity during the war within the German genocidal plan. And this is something that triggers extraordinary emotions in Poland, given the fact that Polish society has been a society of victims too. And it's very difficult to come to terms with the fact that a society that has been a victim can also victimize even weaker members of its own social community, national community, in this case, the Jews. So in Poland, it's a great problem. And when you look at the camps such as Auschwitz and Treblinka, you can see that repeated attempts are being done by the Polish state to combine the two. In other words, concentration experience, concentration camp experience with the experience of extermination camps, which should not be compared, I would say, at all. So this is a real problem. And in terms of institutions, the Polish state has been engaged now for decades in something that historians of the Shoah call Holocaust distortion. It means we don't deny that 6 million Jews have been murdered, but what we deny is that our people, our nation, had any kind of influence or impact or complicity within that event, with that event. So this kind of let's say a problem exists, and is visible throughout Polish educational system and museums such as Auschwitz too.
And look, when we talk about Polish individuals, you're talking there about the institutional recognition of the state. Your own research has suggested that around 200,000 Jews were killed indirectly or directly as a result of activities of Poles during the Second World War. How much knowledge would you say there is about that, or acceptance of that within Polish society?
Well, I would say acceptance of these are the numbers which are the results of perhaps 20 years of my research, basic research on the ground. And I will call them conservative numbers. As I mentioned, it's a question of direct involvement or indirect denunciation in this case, which I would say sums up with the sum of 200, perhaps more, 100 Polish Jews who had a working chance to live. Because principally and chiefly, we are discussing here the period of time when the Jews were no longer in the ghettos. They fled and they were trying to survive on so-called Aryan side. And they did not survive. So, I mean, the percentage, there was 1% of Polish Jews who found themselves under the German occupation who made it through the war. 1%. So these are horrible numbers. And in question of acceptance, I would say in Poland, practically none. I could count perhaps on fingers of one hand historians who would subscribe to these numbers. However, abroad, it's among international historians, the acceptance of my findings is much more common. So this is a problem, and this is a problem of memory indeed, and something that we call unfortunately the wrongly understood reason of the state. In France, you have an expression, raison d'État. So this is a problem in Poland of huge proportions.